computer science seems to indicate an inside job. So I don't know whether the DNC was hacked. I don't know whether at all. I don't know that it was hacked by Russians. And now on the basis of this report, I tend to believe that it was an inside job, meaning the data was downloaded to, say, a thumb drive and spirited out of the building. I would point out that Craig Murray, who is a British diplomat, has said for the record that he received information from the DNC on a thumb drive and passed it to WikiLeaks.
You and the president still communicate. Have you said anything to him about what you plan to say here today? Have you spoken with him at all about this testimony?
I have not. I'm not even sure that he is aware that I was testifying today, although he may have read it in today's Washington Post.
Are you speaking to the Senate committee?
We have no information on that. There is no current schedule to do so.
When was the last time?
I would certainly be willing to do so on a voluntary basis. I would require no immunity. I would welcome the opportunity.
When was the last office?
Pardon me?
Have you heard from Mueller's office?
I have not.
When was the last time you spoke to the president?
Recently. I'm going to decline to characterize it. It was not about this investigation.
Were there any tense moments today or anything like you walked away feeling like just tense or anything that made you uncomfortable?
No, I wouldn't say so. There were certainly some partisan clashes and maybe some disagreements, or I would say some differences of opinion, but nothing that made me uncomfortable.
Can you go into detail about what those clashes might be?
I prefer not to. I don't think that members of the committee buy some of my claims, but they have no evidence to the contrary.
Did you ask Adam Schiff directly to apologize to you?
I did not, because the length of my testimony, which included that stuff, went over, and I was only afforded 5 minutes.
And did any of it, you asked for in your statement, you asked for Swalwell and Spear also.
Yes.
Did they apologize?
I'm not holding my breath.
Did you decline to say who your intermediary was?
Yes, I did.
Did you decline to answer any other questions?
No, that's the only question I declined to answer.
You've delivered some very harsh assessments about Adam Schiff and the Democrats in this committee. Does your opinion of them still hold? Has it changed at all that you interacted with them?
Well, Mr. Castro seems like a very nice guy. But beyond that, my opinion has largely not changed.
Did you get any pushback from the committee when you declined the ID or any hearing?
Yes, they would like me to do so. I told them that I would consider it. Now, the reason I am not submitting that name is because the intermediary is a journalist, and our conversation was off the record. I'm an opinion journalist. He's a journalist. I'm not going to burn somebody who I spoke to off the record. If he releases me, if he allows me to release it, I would be happy to give it to the committee. I'm actually going to try to do that.
Mr. Chairman, you and Michael Caputo have both come here and in your statements, either before or afterwards, said to the effect you've asked for apologies. You've said that members of the committee have sort of smeared your character. By and large, do you look at this as a serious exercise?
No, I think it's an entirely political exercise. Look, they make the charges against you in a public forum for maximum coverage to benefit their U.S. Senate campaign or their re-election, but then they only allow you to respond behind closed doors, and they won't even allow the release of a transcript. It really puts you at an extraordinarily unfair advantage. In the case of Michael Caputo, he attended the session, answered all questions truthfully, and then Congresswoman Spear came back and maligned him, said that he had perjured himself. I don't believe that that's true.
Mr. Stone, do you think that the president should fire Bob Mueller?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because he auditioned, or I should say interviewed, for the job of FBI director the day after Mr. Comey resigned, or was fired, pardon me, and was passed over for that job. That, to me, constitutes a conflict.
And have you made that recommendation directly to the president?
I have not. But I've written it. I've said it on Infowars.com. I've said it. I've written it in the Daily Caller. The president may be aware of my view.
What was the disposition of the Republican committee? Were they arguing on your behalf?
No, I think they were trying to do their job and write a fair report. There were some clashes between the Republicans and the Democrats about the appropriateness of some questions, but overall, it was pretty collegial.
Which questions?
Gowdy asked me directly if I had any knowledge of Russian collusion with any member of the Trump campaign, the Trump family, Donald Trump, Trump associates, Trump friends, Trump supporters, and I said no. Mr. Schiff said, well, we could ask the same question of Vladimir Putin, and Mr. Gowdy took exception to that.
Is your opinion that if whatever this committee decides or whatever their report says is something that you could actually trust? Do you feel as though after coming to them that you could trust their conclusions?
I believe I was fairly treated, if that's your question. I'd obviously reserve judgment until I see the final report, but the entire exchange was completely professional. Everybody was courteous. I have no complaints about anyone's conduct.
Have you spoken with Mr. Manafort about the FBI raid on his house?
Yes. He believes, as I do, that it is outrageous. They not only took away 2 folders of documents, all of which they already had, but they photographed all of his custom Italian suits in his closet. I cannot imagine for what reason.
You or Mr.
It's English tailoring is always better than Italian tailoring, at least for my body shape.
Do you know what Manafort may be indicted for?
I don't, and neither does he, based on my brief conversation with him.
And you have said you believe he is not guilty of what he might be indicted for. Do you have? Why is that?
Well, because I think what's happening here is that the special counsel will try to manufacture a crime and then say, look, Manafort, we won't prosecute you for this if you simply admit you were colluding with the Russians and that Donald Trump knew everything. In other words, bear false witness against the president. I've known Paul Manafort for over 40 years, and I don't believe he is going to do that. He is not going to lie, and that would be a lie.
But you're not familiar with his finances, his taxes?
Most certainly not. I'm sure that they're far more extensive and complicated than mine. But I have no idea what charge he could be indicted on or whether that charge is provable, fair. I don't know.
Did they ask you to come back later? Is this the end of your...
There was no discussion of coming back, although I'd certainly be open to it under the right circumstances.
Do you have any communications with Michael Flynn at all?
I have not. I don't know General Flynn. Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.